to go over what took place last night. LSU spanked in the second half by the Seminoles. And my God, Paulie, FSU, do they ever have some dudes like all over? The transfers they brought in, they really popped last night. They took it to them. They beat them down. They made LSU quit in the second half.
Yes, they did.
And I don't even think LSU lost the game in the second half. That's when they were taken to the woodshed. I thought LSU lost the game in the first half because it was a comedy of errors. They should have been up by 14 to 17 points at halftime.
Yep.
It was a total clown show what took place with that team in the first half.
Yep, and Travis got his act together, too, after almost throwing some interceptions early with some ill-advised throws that could have been picked off. And they dominated the second half, took it to him. You're right. Kelly said we have to look in the mirror. We think we were a different team, like we were Georgia. That's what we thought when we took the field, and that was great to watch. And hopefully this program becomes a juggernaut once again. And I know we talked to Aaron Moore Friday about the importance of this game. Well, I know LSU has a lot of winnable games on an easy schedule coming up, but to get blown out like that on national television, it's going to hurt your case if you have 2 losses now.
Oh, they have a lot to clean up.
Oh, yeah.
The secondary, major concerns. The offensive line, major concerns.
Norvell gets him again now.
Absolutely.
That's right.
The play calling by Norvell and his staff last night, I thought was borderline brilliant at times. Even when they had a 3rd and short, and they did like a wide receiver reverse, and it got sniffed out there by the secondary of the Tigers, and they forced a 4th down and short. I thought it was a great play call. Didn't work. They came right back and hit him for another beautiful play call that went all the way near the goal line. But some of the look-ahead numbers that we had before this week, Florida State-Clemson has played in 3 weeks. Clemson, I believe, was below a field goal in that game. Well, you can see why. I mean, FSU was completely loaded across the board. And we got a tweet from Matt last night during the game. He found 80-1 on Florida State to win the title this year, the day that Georgia played TCU for the national title.
Wow.
How'd you like to have Florida State 80-1 in pocket right now?
Man, come on.
Last night was so huge.
They won 10 games last year.
Oh, and they look at that. After one game playing a really good team from the SEC, and they made them look like that.
Yes.
And most of the players responsible, or some of them anyway, were guys they brought in via the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crazy good job by Norvell.
Yep.
And on the flip side, I know it's not up right now at DraftKings, but the games of the year, Alabama was shorter than a field goal against LSU. I like to have a little Bama -2 in pocket against LSU when they play in November.
Yeah, well, Kelly's a great coach. He's got a lot of things to fix, though. To your point about the blowout, it's the first time that a team in the top 5 lost their opener by more than 3 touchdowns since 1988. Think about that. Now, the important thing is how do you handle this now if you're Florida State? Because they got the win last year to start, and you can't have these bad losses. You can't lose to NC State and Wake Forest like they did last year, and you got to keep the train on them rolling. And certainly that huge game coming up at the end of the month against Clemson, keep that one close, and you're cooking. Because you look at the rest of the schedule here, and I don't think there's much in the ACC. We'll get to North Carolina later, and they had a huge win for their program in that conference. But certainly it's right there for Florida State now that you get a big blowout win against a top 5 team. The other thing, get rid of these coaches' interviews, by the way, during like the NBA, and in between the quarters as well.
With the exception of one man, but continue.
Yeah, right. Well, that was at halftime, but this was you missed the interception in the game.
I know,
because you get and Chris Fowler is trying to talk over the interception.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing. Come on,
that was brutal.
Yes, it was.
That was brutal. But the one guy that I want to mic on the entire time throughout the game is Deion Sanders. I'm hooked. I mean, how long? Let me ask you. How long did it take for you watching that game to recognize, they might be pretty good?
Well,
I have my answer.
I'm not there yet. I know it's appointment television. I got there by the third quarter.
Oh, God. I was there by the third series of the game.
Were you? Okay.
I made it a point. Yeah. I'm watching. In fact, it was the second series. It was when they stopped TCU, made them go 3-and-out to begin, and right away when they got the ball back on offense, I'm like, oh, boy, he's actually got some pretty good talent here. There's no fooling around. I hopped in. I had to when they were driving. I grabbed Colorado plus 14.5, plus 13.5. I grabbed them on the money line. I'm like, this might be for real, at least for today.
Yeah. TCU could have won 4 games, but that's the great thing about this sport, and that's why it was so hard going through everything on the show Friday with the transfer portal. And, I mean, they got 87 new players. I mean, you don't know what you're going to have year to year, and how this is going to mesh and gel in the chemistry, and a team that could be a major disappointment, which we see every year in college football, which I know they're outside the top 10. But every year you get a preseason top 10 that doesn't even have a winning record or loses 6 games, 5 games. I mean, it happens every year, so maybe that's TCU. But for them to go to the national title game in Colorado, which Brad Powers said one of the worst Power Fives you're ever going to see going back. I mean, they gave up 45 points per game. So you didn't know what to expect, but what you saw with Sanders and Hunter and what they were able to do offensively, and good job by Deion. But this is crazy how everything's flipped here with Colorado just in one game.
Yeah, I'll give you this to tie in Colorado and what we saw last night with Florida State. Travis Hunter was the number 1 prospect in the country.
Yeah.
He flipped from Florida State to go play with Deion at Jackson State. And then he came with him to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make some comments here that might sound ridiculous. I don't care if you disagree with me because you need to think about this logically. Their win total moved to 3.5 to 5. Let's say, and they get Oregon in a couple weeks. They get USC the week after that. What are the totals going to be?
Oh.
If this team wins 6 games after winning 1 last year, and as you said, they brought in 87 players, I don't care what the record says. Hunter, if he plays like this, he played 145 snaps in the first game. Think about that for a second. People are comparing him to Charles Woodson. Woodson never did anything like this offensively.
Right.
Defensively, he was the man. But for Hunter, he should have had 2 touchdowns, and he should have had 2 INTs in the game.
Yeah.
Now, is that sustainable for him to go out there and play 145 snaps? Probably not, although that was 105 degrees in September, and he was able to pull it off. Like, if they win 6 games and he plays both sides of the ball, let's say he averages 100 snaps a game, and he puts up, 10 touchdowns and has 7 INTs, 6 INTs, his name should be right. I don't care if Caleb Williams or Drake May or any of these quarterbacks are 12-0. Travis Hunter needs to be in the same sentence to win the Heisman Trophy, period. And the people who vote on that award, you cannot give me best player on the best team or best quarterback from a Power 5.
Yeah.
You got to get that thinking out of your mind for this season if this kid does this. It's one game. I get that. But they were 20. You could have grabbed 20.5 or 21 points the whole summer. Sharp bettors didn't because they thought Colorado was going to be a disaster. And guess what? They were wrong.
Yeah.
And now they have some serious. Look at this. They were getting 8.5 3 days ago on the look-ahead line against Nebraska. Where we broadcast from, they opened up Colorado 5 yesterday. Now, it lasted 30 seconds, but that's how they flipped it, 13.5 points.
Mm-hmm. Who knows now? Might be short. Absolutely. They disagreed. But, this is the whole talking point about that game was how do you adjust the win total, the futures, the Heisman stuff, everything, because they were god-awful and atrocious for so long. And he comes in with all these new players, and they look great. And Sonny Dykes was a little disappointed in his own team. That we're tired. We got guys coming off the field, and Hunter's doing it. But then Hunter says, I'm not even tired after the game.
Oh, he looked like Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, that's right. So that's scary. And you're right, what could have been. They could have scored 60 points. I told you I'd rather have Sanders for the Heisman because he had 4 touchdowns and 500 yards, and he's running the bus here. He's driving the bus with everything. But if this guy's going to, good point, too, about it's not even close, the Charles Woodson comparisons are ridiculous.
You can't even compare it.
The guy would get on the field once in a while, and they throw him a bubble screen or something.
Right.
What this guy's doing, and they missed him early for 2 touchdowns. So, oh, my God. I can't wait to watch and see what it looks like Saturday.
Well,
and they can drop Nebraska. But you're right. I mean, a lot of things to clean up defensively and what Nix and Williams are going to do and Penix to this defense. But still, this was just a horrible, horrible team and program going back the last couple of years. And it was like Stuart Mandel was there, other people at the game. Media members are saying, I have no idea what to expect here from this team.
Sure.
No idea. And certainly we got an A-plus performance.
And they went out and did that. I'm watching, again, this is very early on first quarter. After they stopped TCU on that first drive and they came back and they're driving, it took me that long to say to myself, Deion has this team more buttoned up than what Billy Napier did with Florida in week 1 against Utah. Like, how is that possible? With the entire team is new. The changeover pretty much unlike anything we've ever seen before. And they look like not only do they have a bunch of talent all over the place, they knew their assignments. The defense now, again, it's going to be ugly. I mean, the totals in the Oregon game and the USC game, the team totals for those 2 teams, they're going to be in the 50s probably. But I will go a couple steps further here. I was completely obsessed with Oregon football for about a 5, 6, 7, 8 year stretch with Chip Kelly because I'm thinking to myself, if I'm a 17, 18-year-old kid and I'm watching that program play the way that they did with their style offensively and changing the uniforms every single week in like 130 different combinations, it was automatic. I was going to go to Oregon. You watch Colorado play for the first half and you see Deion come off the field and say that about Travis Hunter. The Heisman should be chilling back at his crib already. If you're a 16 or 17-year-old kid in year 4, you don't want to go play for him? I would circle Colorado and say, that is my number one target I have to go play for.
How long is he going to be there? Maybe the total over under 2.5 years.
Yeah. That leads me to my next.
I know that's the other thing, but that's
crazy thought here. He's going to take over for Saban at Alabama.
Probably go to the NFL. I know you could say he doesn't want to go that, but I agree with Mike Florio. If someone's going to throw him an obscene amount of money, but we got a long ways to go, though. I mean, it's just they might win 4 games themselves. I mean, this conference is loaded.
Oh my God, is it good?
Loaded.
It's unbelievable.
So it was a great start.
What a way to start the season. Can you imagine being like executives for Fox?
Oh, God. Of course that's how it's going to end.
A 3-day bender.
Yeah.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.